If you clicked on this video, chances are you are tired of spending hours of your life scrolling on your phone, and you just want to learn the secrets to ending your scrolling permanently. Now, for most of you watching, you know that all of this scrolling is literally killing your attention span. But you've probably tried tons of methods, and no matter what you do, you keep coming back to the same bad habits. And I would know because that person was me. But after a lot of time and research, I'm gonna be sharing with you a very simple 4-step framework that changed me from a person who scrolled 4 hours a day to scrolling no more than 10 minutes a day. Let's start off with the first C, contemplation. Now, before you even start trying to reduce your screen time, I want you to ask yourself, why? Why do you want to reduce your scrolling in the first place? You might say something like, oh, I just know that it's bad for me, but that's kind of like saying you want to start working out just because you want to look good. And that reason isn't bad necessarily, but it's shallow and lacks any truly intrinsic motivation that will ensure that your goal lasts for as long as possible. For me, I realized that every second that I was spending scrolling was 1 second I wasn't spending with my family and the people I actually care about. And it took time out of my actually important passions and hobbies. And once you contemplate on the true reason for reducing your scrolling, I want you to write it down, take a picture of it, and then use it as your lock screen wallpaper, so that every time you pick up your phone, you remind yourself of what you're doing this all for. Now that you've established your true goal, it's time to get into the meat of what will actually stop your scrolling, which is E for elimination. Now, it's clear that we use our phones for a cheap distraction and a quick dopamine fix. So our goal is to reduce these distractions as much as possible. And from what I've tried out, here's what works. The first thing you need to do is to delete all of the apps that you don't use. And I mean all of the apps, even the random apps that you're saving in case of an emergency. Next, you need to eliminate the color from your phone. If you go into your phone settings, you should see a setting for turning on monochrome or grayscale, which makes your phone black and white. And as you've probably noticed already from the black and white screen right now, you'll start to realize that, wow, social media is way less interesting than it used to be, which is kind of the point. Another thing that you need to do, which a lot of people actually do incorrectly, is to set timers for your most used apps. I don't think I need to say anything, you know the ones. Now, the biggest mistake that people make is that they will be way too aggressive with their timers and set each app for like 5 minutes a day when they're used to using them for hours. It's kind of like allowing yourself to eat one French fry when you're used to eating entire junk food meals. It's just not gonna work. Instead, look at the average time that you used each app last week and then set your timers for 90% of that time for this week. Then in the next week, set your timers for 80% of that time, and then so on and so forth. These will slowly wean you off of these apps without going cold turkey, and your mind will slowly adapt to the decreased stimulation. The last thing you need to do, which is actually quite simple, is to remove your phone from the bedroom entirely. This way, you're not waking up in the middle of the night to start scrolling on your phone, nor are you using your phone the second you wake up. And if you use your phone as an alarm, get a physical alarm clock or do what I do and use the Google Home. The point of doing all of these things is to reinforce the fact that your phone is a tool and that you are in control of how you use it, not the other way around. But even after all of these things, some of you might be worried that you're just gonna forget about all of this and just go back to the same bad habits. And to remedy that, tell everybody. Tell your friends and your family that you're trying to reduce your screen time and the specific steps that you're taking in order to get to that goal. And whenever you're on your phone, be sure to use it next to them so that they can see what you're doing and help keep you accountable. With all of these things in play, we now get to the third step, the S, which is substitution. Now, you probably wouldn't quit all junk food just to leave yourself with nothing to eat, right? Just like we're not gonna limit our scrolling and then leave ourselves with nothing to do. So what we're going to be doing is substituting our screen time for good hobbies and a better routine. Your goal is to find a hobby that's both interesting and easily accessible at a moment's notice. Reading is naturally a great option since you can easily take a book or Kindle with you anywhere you go to help keep you occupied. And of course, things like learning a new language or instrument are both great options, so play around and figure out what works for you. Next, to reinforce these habits, I want you to block out specific portions of your day where you dedicate yourself solely to these hobbies. This structured aspect is absolutely crucial to the entire routine, as it shifts your mindset away from immediately seeking gratification from your phone and finding enjoyment in things that are less dopamine stimulating. It will rewire your brain into acknowledging that scrolling is an occasional reward, not the norm. The last step to tie everything together is R, reflection. I want to emphasize that I'm not saying you need to cut out these apps entirely. Just like occasionally eating junk food, these apps can be a fun way to unwind and just turn off your brain for a bit. But what I am saying is that we need to learn to control and then moderate our usage so that we don't spiral out of control. Taking small steps and then slowly decreasing your usage week after week is ultimately the way to go. Because if you just try to decrease everything at once, let's just face it, it's not going to end well. And at the end of each week, I want you to write down a couple of thoughts about how you're feeling. Do you feel better after doing this? And how's your brain responding to all of the decreased stimulation? And most importantly, how does it feel to have way more time to yourself now that you're not scrolling nearly as much? Because that was the point of all of this. Remembering your goal at the very beginning and then measuring your process week after week. And as you continue to build these habits, I can guarantee that you will see the benefits. Anyways, that's it for this one. If you got lots of value from this video, I would greatly appreciate it if you subscribe. But as always, thank you so much for watching. Go out and reduce your screen time for good, and I'll see you in the next one.